One of us is back. Jake, 6 years earlier. You want to keep playing or what? Simon asked. Jake rolled his eyes annoyed for reasons he couldn't really explain. No, he didn't want to keep playing. He was bored with video games that had already been at for 3 hours. He was bored, period. Or maybe restless was a better word. It was the summer before freshman year of high school, and all Jake could think about lately was that there should be more to life by now than sitting in his living room playing video games with Simon Kelleher. That was fine for middle school, but things were changing. Jake wasn't nearly as tall as his dad yet, but he was finally starting to get there. His football skills had really taken off in 8th grade to the point where his coach told him he could try out for varsity at Bayview High. Girls were looking at him differently, and when he examined himself in the mirror, which was a lot lately, he knew why. His face was changing, in a good way, losing what his mother called, mortifyingly, baby fat. Jake Riordan was finally starting to go places. But Simon Kelleher was the same angsty, nerdy, scrawny, pissed-off kid he'd always been. Simon hated sports, parties, being outdoors for any length of time, and most people. Last month, all he did was complain when Jake made him watch the Little League World Series, even though the whole town was watching because the Bayview team made it all the way to the semifinals. Cooper Clay, that new kid from Mississippi, pitched an unbelievable no-hitter. The team missed out on going to the championship game only because of fielding errors. All Jake could think when he watched Cooper, so cool and calm under pressure, clearly destined to be a legend at Bayview High, was that's the kind of friend I need. For now, though, he was stuck with Simon. The front door opened, and then a deep voice boomed. "Catherine, I'm home." "Mom's not," Jake yelled back. He glanced at the clock, surprised to see that it was past 6. He knew he shouldn't be, though. Ever since his mom had gotten promoted, she started coming home later than Dad. Now that he knew how late it was, he decided he was starving and added, "What's for dinner?" "Hell if I know," Dad said, poking his head into the living room. He unknotted his tie and tossed his briefcase into the nearest armchair. Jake's father was a lawyer. Big law, he always said, which Jake took to mean he made a lot of money, enough to pay for this house and buy all his perfectly fitted suits from the legendary London shop. Mr. Riordan stopped by whenever he was there on business, to keep his measurements up to date. "Some kind of takeout, probably. How's it going, Simon? You staying for food?" "Nah," Simon said, getting to his feet. Another one of the things Simon hated was making polite conversation with adults. "I'm out. See you tomorrow." "Maybe," Jake said noncommittally as Simon stalked out of the room. "Talked to your mom lately?" Dad asked, leaning against the doorframe. His blonde hair had gone prematurely silver years ago, and his eyes were a clear, sharp hazel. He'd been an Ivy League athlete and was still in shape, fast enough to beat Jake in sprints. Jake admired his father. He'd never gone through the kind of "I hate you" phase that Simon was stuck in with his parents. Even though Jake resembled his mother, he mimicked his father's mannerisms so closely that everyone commented on how much they looked alike. It was interesting. Jake thought how easy it was to make people see what you wanted them to see. "Not today," Jake said. His mother usually checked in with him at some point, unless she had too many meetings. "Busy woman," Dad said, pulling his phone from his pocket. "Let me see if we should wait for her order now. You up for Vietnamese?" "Yeah, sure." Not sure why we bothered renovating the kitchen for all the use it's getting lately," Dad muttered as he swiped at his phone. Jake knew why, because it looked great, just like the rest of the house. When Mr. Riordan made a partner at his law firm a few years ago, family had moved onto this street he had his eye on for years. "Wellington Avenue," Mr. Riordan would say every time he drove past it. "That's the best of the best right there." Most of the time Mom smiled, but every once in a while she'd wrinkle her nose and say, "Too much house." "There's no such thing," Dad always replied. Jake agreed with him. Who wouldn't want five extra bedrooms, a game room, a kind of finished basement you almost never saw in this area, a giant backyard with a perfectly landscaped pool? And all Jake needed was the right kind of friends to fill it with, and the right girlfriend. Jake frowned suddenly at his phone to his ear. "Who's this?" he asked. "Oh, and you're answering my wife's phone because—" "Yes, please do that." A pause, and then Mr. Riordan asked, "Catherine, joining us at home anytime soon?" Jake lunged for his headphones and plugged them into his phone, and he turned on some music. He didn't like when Dad sounded like this, although he was already mad at you before you'd even had a chance to start talking. There was no winning with Mr. Riordan when he took that tone. He's been talking it a lot lately with Mom. The best thing to do, Jake decided, was to block it out, because if you can't see or hear something, there's no reason it should bother you.